Right now in Germany, one of the richest countries on earth, there are cities where you can rent a fully furnished apartment for less than what most Europeans spend on their monthly phone and internet bill combined. I am not exaggerating. While renters in London are paying £2,000 for a shoebox, while Parisians are spending €1,500 for 30 square meters, and while people in Amsterdam are literally entering lotteries just for the chance to rent an apartment, there are German cities where rent has fallen so low that landlords are practically begging for tenants. We are talking €200 to €400 per month for proper apartments in cities with hospitals, universities, train stations, and high-speed internet. This is not some fantasy. This is a mathematical reality that most people simply do not know about. So let me walk you through 15 German cities where rent has completely collapsed and where your money stretches so far it almost feels like the system is broken. But before we start counting down, you need to understand exactly why rents have collapsed in these cities, because this is not random. After German reunification in 1990, massive housing construction happened across eastern Germany. The government built thousands of apartments, expecting populations to grow. Instead, the opposite happened. Young people left for Berlin, Munich, Hamburg, and Frankfurt in waves that lasted decades. What remains are cities with far more apartments than people to fill them. Vacancy rates in some of these cities hit 15 to 20% compared to less than 1% in Munich. When you have more empty apartments than tenants, landlords compete for renters instead of renters competing for apartments. That competition drives rents down to levels that sound impossible to anyone living in a major European capital. And here is the critical part most people miss. These are not broken cities. German federal law guarantees the same infrastructure standards nationwide. The hospital in a small eastern German city operates under the same regulations as a Munich hospital. The trains run on the same Deutsche Bahn network. The internet meets the same federal broadband standards. You are getting first world German infrastructure at developing world rental prices. That gap between price and quality is the opportunity. Now, let us get into the list. City number 15. At number 15, Görlitz in Saxony on the Polish border. Population approximately 56,000. Görlitz consistently ranks among Germany's most beautiful cities. The entire old town survived World War II almost untouched. Wes Anderson filmed the Grand Budapest Hotel here because the architecture is genuinely that spectacular. And yet, average rent sits at just €5.20 per square meter. A 60 square meter, 2-bedroom apartment costs roughly €310 per month. That is not a typo. I connected with a British graphic designer in his mid-30s who moved here 3 years ago. He rents a stunning 80 square meter apartment with original wooden floors, 4-meter ceilings, and a balcony overlooking the old town for €420 per month, including utilities. His equivalent apartment in Manchester cost him £1,200. He told me the first 3 months felt surreal because the quality of his living space tripled, while his rent dropped by 2/3. He works remotely for UK clients, earns in pounds, and spends in Görlitz euros. After rent, groceries, internet, phone, health insurance, and entertainment. His total monthly cost of living comes to about €950. The trade-off is limited, local employment and cold winters reaching -10 degrees. But Dresden is 90 minutes by train, and Poland is literally across the bridge for even cheaper daily shopping. City number 14. At number 14, Chemnitz in Saxony. Population around 245,000, making it a proper city, not a village. Chemnitz holds the remarkable distinction of having the lowest rents of any major German city. Average rent is 5.10 euros per square meter. A spacious 70 square meter apartment costs around 360 euros per month. 3-bedroom family apartments run 402,500 euros. Meanwhile, the same size apartment in Munich costs 1,400 to 1,800 euros. But here is what changes the calculation entirely. Chemnitz was named European Capital of Culture for 2025. Hundreds of millions in investment are flowing into the city right now. New cultural venues, renovated public spaces, and international attention are transforming Chemnitz in real time. The city has a full technical university with essentially free tuition, a major hospital, tram and bus networks covering the entire city, and direct trains to Dresden in 50 minutes and Leipzig in 70 minutes. I talked to a Canadian couple in their early 40s who moved from Toronto. They rent a 3-bedroom Art Nouveau apartment with balconies for 480 euros per month. In Toronto, they were paying over 3,500 Canadian dollars for a smaller space. Their total monthly expenses for 2 people come to roughly 1,400 euros. The wife works remotely for a Canadian tech company. She told me they calculated that they are saving over 30,000 euros per year compared to Toronto, while living in a significantly larger and more beautiful apartment. The trade-off is Chemnitz carries a perception problem within Germany. But their actual daily experience has been welcoming, and the international community is growing rapidly with the capital of culture designation. City number 13 at number 13, Plauen in Saxony in the Vogtland region. Population approximately 64,000. Average rent in Plauen sits at just 4.80 euros per square meter, making it one of the cheapest cities in all of Germany. A 2-bedroom apartment costs 250 to 350 euros per month. 3-bedroom apartments run 350 to 450 euros. Some listings show fully habitable apartments under 200 euros per month. Let me put that in perspective. A monthly gym membership in central London costs more than rent for an entire apartment in Plauen. I spoke with an American freelance writer in her late 40s who moved from Portland, Oregon. She rents a bright 3-bedroom apartment with a balcony for 320 euros per month, including heating. Her previous Portland rent was $2,100. She told me she now works half the hours she used to because her expenses dropped so dramatically. The extra time goes into writing her novel, hiking in the Vogtland Hills, and taking cheap train trips across Europe. Her total monthly spending is about 800 euros, and she described her quality of life as incomparably better than anything she experienced in the United States. The trade-off is Plauen has experienced significant population decline, losing nearly half its residents since 1990. Some neighborhoods feel empty, and the younger demographic is thin. But for remote workers and retirees seeking maximum affordability with solid German infrastructure, Plauen delivers numbers that sound fictional until you see them yourself. Now, if those prices surprised you, what comes next will genuinely shock you, because we are about to enter cities where rent has collapsed even further. If you are finding this valuable, hit subscribe right now because I am covering affordable living opportunities across Europe that most channels completely ignore. Let us keep going. City number 12. At number 12, Sangerhausen, Saxony-Anhalt at the southern edge of the Harz Mountains. Population approximately 27,000. Average rent is 4.50 euros per square meter. A two-bedroom apartment costs 220 to 300 euros per month. You can find habitable one-bedroom apartments for under 200 euros. The Harz Mountains sit at your doorstep with hiking trails, medieval castles, and the famous Brocken Mountain, all within easy reach. I connected with a Dutch early retiree in his late 50s who moved here 2 years ago. He rents a spacious three-bedroom apartment with mountain views for 280 euros per month. His Dutch pension covers his entire cost of living 3 times over. He told me he spends his days hiking, reading, and taking train trips to Berlin and Leipzig. His monthly expenses, including everything, come to about 750 euros. He said retirement in the Netherlands would have meant counting every euro. Here he lives like a king, on the same pension. City number 11. At number 11, Hoyerswerda, in Saxony. Population, approximately 32,000. This is where German rental prices enter territory that breaks people's brains. Average rent is 4.20 euros per square meter. Two-bedroom apartments cost 180 to 280 euros per month. Some studios list for 120 to 150 euros per month. Yes, you read that, right? Monthly rent cheaper than a single night in a Berlin hotel. But here's what makes Hoyerswerda genuinely interesting beyond the rock-bottom prices. The Lusatia region is receiving billions in federal structural funding as Germany transitions away from coal energy. New research institutes, renewable energy companies, battery factories, and green hydrogen projects are being built within 30 kilometers. These are funded, approved projects, not speculation. I talked to a young German software developer in his late 20s who moved from Munich. He rents a renovated two-bedroom apartment for 210 euros per month. His Munich rent was 1,350 euros for a smaller space. He works fully remote for a Munich tech company, earning a Munich salary while spending Hoyerswerda prices. He saves over 1,100 euros per month, just on rent difference alone. He told me he calculated that in 5 years of rent savings, he will have enough for a deposit on a property anywhere in Germany. He described it as a financial cheat code hiding in plain sight. City number 10. At number 10, Dessau-Roßlau in Saxony, Anhalt. Population, approximately 80,000. This is the birthplace of the Bauhaus movement, one of the most influential architectural and design movements in human history. The original Bauhaus building still stands here as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Design students and architecture lovers travel from around the world to visit. And yet average rent is just 4.90 euros per square meter. A 65 square meter apartment costs around 320 euros per month. The city has a University of Applied Sciences, a major hospital, good train connections to Berlin in 90 minutes and Leipzig in 45 minutes, and an established cultural infrastructure that punches far above its population size. I spoke with a Japanese architecture student in her mid-20s studying at the Bauhaus campus. She rents a one-bedroom apartment for 190 euros per month. Her friends studying architecture in London pay £800 to £1,000 for worse accommodation. She told me Dessau gives her access to the actual birthplace of modern design while paying less rent than her phone bill back in Tokyo. City number 9. At number 9, Gera in Thuringia. Population approximately 92,000. Gera is a genuinely undervalued city with some of Germany's finest Art Nouveau architecture. The city center features ornate facades and grand buildings from its industrial golden age. Average rent sits at €4.70 per square meter. Two-bedroom apartments cost €280 to €380 per month. The city has a dual university campus shared with Yale, one of Germany's leading academic cities, just 35 minutes away by train. A full hospital operates in the city. Shopping, restaurants, and cultural venues serve the population. Direct trains connect to Leipzig in 60 minutes, Erfurt in 45 minutes, and Jena in 35 minutes. I connected with a Polish remote worker in her early 30s who moved from Warsaw. She rents a beautiful Art Nouveau apartment with stucco ceilings and tall windows for €340 per month. She works for a German digital marketing agency based in Berlin. She told me her apartment in Gera is more beautiful than anything she could afford in any capital city in Europe. And it costs less than her previous Warsaw rent, which itself was considered cheap by European standards. We have just passed the halfway point and we are entering the top 8. Every city from here delivers something. That goes beyond just cheap rent. These next cities combine collapsed rental prices with specific lifestyle advantages that make them genuinely compelling places to live, not just cheap places to survive. The best is ahead, so stay with me. City number 8. At number 8, Zwickau, Saxony. Population approximately 87,000. Zwickau hits a sweet spot that few affordable German cities achieve. It is big enough to function as a complete city with full urban infrastructure while maintaining dramatically low rents. Average rent is €4.90 per square meter. Two-bedroom apartments cost €300 to €400. The critical advantage is economic stability. Volkswagen operates a major manufacturing plant here, providing thousands of jobs. This is not a city dependent solely on remote workers or retirees. A real industrial economy functions here. The city also has a University of Applied Sciences, a full hospital, shopping centers, and high-speed trains to Leipzig in 40 minutes. I spoke with an Indian engineer in his early 30s who works at the Volkswagen plant. He rents a two-bedroom apartment for €340 per month. His colleagues in Wolfsburg pay €750 for equivalent spaces. He told me Zwickau gives him a proper German engineering career at half the living cost of traditional automotive cities. He saves over 60% of his salary every month. City number 7. At number 7, Bremerhaven in Bremen. Population approximately 114,000. Here is something fascinating. Bremerhaven is the only city on this list in Western Germany, while almost every other affordable German city sits in the former East. Bremerhaven proves that rental collapse is not exclusively an Eastern phenomenon. Average rent is €5.80 per square meter. Two-bedroom apartments cost €350 to €450. The city sits directly on the North Sea coast. You get ocean views, sea air, and fresh seafood at Eastern German prices in a Western German state. The German Emigration Center here is one of Europe's finest museums. The port area has been transformed into a modern waterfront district, a full hospital, schools at all levels, and direct trains to Bremen in 30 minutes and Hamburg in 90 minutes provide genuine connectivity. I talked to a German nurse in her late 30s who moved from Hamburg. She rents a 3-bedroom apartment with partial sea views for 480 euros per month. Hamburg Rento, WS, 1,250 euros for 2 bedrooms without any view at all. She commutes to Bremen twice a week for specialist shifts and works locally the rest. She told me the sea air alone was worth the move, but paying a third of her former rent sealed the decision permanently. City number 6. At number 6, Eisleben, in Saxony, Anhalt, population approximately 24,000. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Martin Luther was born and died here. The historic town center features centuries-old architecture that cities across Europe would envy. An average rent is just 4.40 euros per square meter. A 2-bedroom apartment in a historic building costs 230 to 320 euros per month. I connected with a British historian in his early 50s who rents a 3-bedroom apartment in a building dating from the 1600s. For 310 euros per month, including heating. Tourists photograph his building while he works at his desk inside. He told me nowhere else in Europe can you live inside a UNESCO World Heritage Site for the price of a cheap hotel room per night converted to monthly rent. Halle is 35 minutes by train, providing access to a major university city whenever needed. City number 5. At number 5, Suhl in Thuringia, in the Thuringian Forest. Population approximately 36,000. Suhl offers something no other city on this list can match. It sits directly inside one of Germany's most beautiful forest regions, the Thuringian Forest. Average rent is 4.30 euros per square meter. 2-bedroom apartments cost 220 to 300 euros per month. The city is surrounded by dense forests, hiking trails, ski slopes in winter, and some of Germany's most pristine natural landscape. A full hospital operates in the city. Zahrensteige, Germany's most famous long-distance hiking trail, passes right by. Erfurt, the Thuringian state capital, with its medieval old town, is just 45 minutes by train. I spoke with an Australian outdoor enthusiast in his early 40s who moved here 3 years ago. He rents a 2-bedroom apartment backing directly onto forests for 240 euros per month. He works remotely for an Australian company earning Australian dollars. He told me he did the math repeatedly because it felt wrong. World-class hiking and nature on his doorstep, proper German infrastructure, and monthly rent less than a single weekend ski pass in the Australian Alps. His total monthly expenses come to about 900 euros. City number 4. At number 4, Altenburg, in Thuringia. Population approximately 31,000. Altenburg combines collapsed rental prices with something enormously valuable: proximity to a booming city. Leipzig, one of Germany's fastest growing and most dynamic cities, sits just 45 minutes away by direct train. Average rent in Altenburg is 4.60 euros per square meter. A 3-bedroom apartment costs 300 to 400 euros per month. A spectacular Renaissance castle overlooks a beautifully preserved old town. A theater has operated continuously since the 1800s. Schools, a hospital, and weekly markets serve the community. I talked to a young German couple in their early 30s, both working in Leipzig. They rent a 3-bedroom apartment with a balcony overlooking the castle for 350 euros per month. Their colleagues in Leipzig pay 800 to 1,000 euros for smaller apartments. The train commute takes 45 minutes door to door, less than most people spend commuting within Berlin. They told me they save over 6,000 euros per year compared to Leipzig rents alone. In 3 years, that savings funded their entire wedding and honeymoon across Southeast Asia. City number 3. At number 3, Weißenfels, in Saxony-Anhalt, on the Suhl River. Population approximately 40,000. Weißenfels sits in the most extraordinary geographic sweet spot of any city on this list. Leipzig is 30 minutes south by train. Halle is 30 minutes north. Naumburg and its UNESCO World Heritage Cathedral are 15 minutes away. You sit at the center of one of Germany's most culturally rich corridors while paying some of the country's lowest rents. Average rent is 4.50 euros per square meter. A 2-bedroom apartment costs 250 to 350 euros per month. 3-bedroom apartments run 350 to 450 euros. I spoke with a South African couple in their late 40s who spent 2 years researching affordable European cities. They rent a 4-bedroom apartment near the river for 420 euros per month. Monthly family expenses for 4 people come to about 1,800 euros total. Their children attend free German schools. University will be free when they reach that age. The wife told me they calculated that they save over 35,000 euros per year compared to their previous Johannesburg costs while having access to better healthcare, better infrastructure, and free education that would have cost them a fortune back home. City number 2. At number 2, Werdau, Saxony. Population approximately 21,000. Werdau is virtually unknown outside of Saxony. And that anonymity is precisely what makes it extraordinary for renters. Average rent has collapsed to just 4.10 euros per square meter. 2-bedroom apartments cost 200 to 280 euros per month. 3-bedroom family apartments run 280 to 380 euros. Some listings show fully habitable apartments for under 180 euros per month. The city sits between Zwickau, which is 10 minutes away, and Chemnitz, 35 minutes by train. Both largest cities provide employment, shopping, and cultural options, while Werdau provides the quiet, affordable base. A local hospital, schools, supermarkets, and regular train connections keep the city functional. I connected with a Romanian digital marketer in her late 20s who moved from She rents a renovated 2-bedroom apartment for 220 euros per month. Habe Kerrestorento, WS 450 euros, meaning she is paying less in Germany than she was in Romania, while having access to dramatically better infrastructure, healthcare, and connectivity. She told me people assume Germany is expensive because they only look at Munich and Berlin. That is like judging all food prices by what restaurants charge at the airport. The real Germany exists in towns like Werdau, and nobody is talking about it. Now, before I reveal the number 1 city, I want you to consider what we have seen across this entire list. Cities where rent costs less than a gym membership in London. Cities where your monthly housing expense is lower than a single restaurant dinner for 2 in Paris. Cities with UNESCO World Heritage sites, Bauhaus architecture, mountain forests, and ocean coastlines. All at prices that would be considered impossibly cheap in any other Western European country. But the city at number 1 does something that none of the others quite achieve. It delivers collapsed rental prices alongside a transformation so significant that living here right now might be the smartest Financial decision you could make in 2025. City number 1. At number 1. Cottbus, in Brandenburg. Population approximately 100,000. Here is why Cottbus takes the top position. It delivers collapsed rental prices in a city that is actively transforming into something much bigger and much more valuable. Right now, in real time. Average rent currently sits at 5.30 euros per square meter. A 2-bedroom apartment costs 300 to 400 euros per month. 3-bedroom apartments run 400 to 520 euros. These are remarkably low prices for a city of 100,000 people. But here's the factor that separates Cottbus from every other city on this list. The Brandenburg Technical University has been designated as a central hub for Germany's energy transition, a new university medical school. The first new medical faculty established in Germany in over 20 years is being built here right now. A major new hospital will follow. Federal and state investment totaling billions of euros is flowing into Cottbus as part of the Lusatia structural transformation. A new railway maintenance facility for Deutsche Bahn creating thousands of jobs is under construction. The city is positioned to be the center of Germany's green energy future. What does this mean for renters right now? You are renting at collapsed prices in a city where massive investment is about to drive demand upward. When that hospital opens, when those university students arrive, when those energy workers need housing, rents will rise. The people renting here now at 5.30 euros per square meter are locking in prices that will look absurdly cheap within 5 years. I talked to a German medical researcher in her early 30s who moved from Freiburg specifically because of the new medical faculty. She rents a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment near the Old Town for 350 euros per month. Ha Freiburg-Kuren. Toda Brua. S. 950 euros. She told me Cottbus feels like Berlin did 15 years ago. A city on the edge of something big where smart people are arriving early before everyone else realizes what is happening. The energy is palpable. New cafes, new startups, new faces appearing every month. But the rents have not caught up yet. She said, this window will not last. Maybe 3 to 5 years before prices adjust to the new reality. Right now, renters here are benefiting from a pricing error that the market has not yet corrected. Berlin is just 90 minutes away by direct train. The Spreewald Biosphere Reserve, one of Germany's most beautiful natural areas, is at your doorstep. The Old Town features attractive architecture and a genuine city center with restaurants, shops, and cultural venues. An existing hospital serves current needs while the new facility is built. The trade-off is that the transformation is still in progress, meaning construction disruption and not all promised developments are complete yet. The city's current cultural scene is modest compared to larger cities. Winters are cold. And the Sorbian Cultural Heritage Area requires openness to a unique regional identity. But for anyone who can see the trajectory, Cottbus represents something rare. Collapsed rental prices in a city where billions in investment are about to change everything. You are renting at yesterday's prices in tomorrow's city. So there you have it. 15 German cities where rent has completely collapsed, 2 levels that challenge everything you think you know about European living costs. Let me be completely transparent about what this requires. Learning German is not optional. It is essential for daily life in small cities. Bureaucracy is thorough and sometimes exhausting. Cultural adjustment takes time and genuine effort. Winters are cold across almost every city on this list. And these cities are not glamorous in the way London, Paris, or Amsterdam are glamorous. But the mathematics are absolutely undeniable. Someone paying 1,500 euros per month in rent in any major European capital spends 180,000 euros over 10 years and owns nothing at the end. That same person renting in these German cities pays 200 to 400 euros per month and saves 1,100 to 1,300 euros every single month. Over 10 years, that is 130,000 to 156,000 euros in pure savings. Enough to buy a house outright. Enough to retire early. Enough to fundamentally change the trajectory of your financial life. Rents across these 15 cities range from 4.10 to 5.80 euros per square meter. Monthly apartment costs range from 180 to 520 euros, depending on city and size. Monthly total living costs range from 750 to 1,800 euros, depending on lifestyle and family size. All while accessing free healthcare, free education, and world-class German infrastructure. These cities are not perfect. They are not exciting every single night. They are not prestigious addresses, but they offer something that expensive European capitals increasingly cannot provide. Financial breathing room, genuine savings, time that belongs to you instead of your landlord, and a quality of daily life that has nothing to do with how much rent you pay and everything to do with how much freedom you have left after paying it. Which city surprised you the most? Tell me honestly in the comments, because your answers directly shape what I cover next. If you made it this far, you are clearly serious about this. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell, because I am releasing a complete guide on how to actually move to Germany step by step within the next 2 weeks. Like this video? So the algorithm shows it to people who are still paying 1,500 euros a month. Wondering if better options exist? They do. You just watched 15 of them?